Hi, Kendy. It's good to talk to you again.
It's good to see you.
All right. So just to recap where we were at last week, I know you had a goal to spend more time walking, spend more time on the bike, and I'm wondering how that went for you.
It actually went really well. For whatever reason, I've struggled so long with this finding a place. And I know we talked about, writing something on the mirror. I kind of came up with that idea last time, and that's what that's kind of the goal. I said I didn't actually do that at all. I found my spot. So after lunch, I've just been every day that it's humanly possible. I'm on my bike. And then after dinner in the evening, every evening that it's humanly possible, I've been walking. So yeah, I feel like it's gone really well.
Okay. So, right after mealtime seems to be, the time that you've been moving. I'm wondering if you'd be open to a suggestion about that.
Sure.
So the problem with moving right after a meal is it puts your body into kind of a fight or flight mode, and it makes digestion a little bit more challenging for your body. So I'm wondering what you would think about maybe doing those movements. You're walking and your bike before mealtime. What do you think about that?
You know, I don't know. Right now, I'm feeling a little bit like, hey, I set this goal, and now the goal wasn't good enough.
All right, Kenny. So from the client perspective, what do you think went wrong there? How did that response that I gave you feel to you?
So I can tell you exactly how it felt because I was like high, right? I was like, look at me, look what I'm doing. I'm accomplishing this. It turned out even better than I expected. And it was like, here came the dark cloud, right? Here was my coach popping my balloon and saying, that's really not the right time. You're putting yourself into fight or flight. And I could feel it in my body. I yeah, I wanted to come up and say, wait a minute, this is what works for me.
Yeah, and it puts you in defense mode when someone tries to correct something you're doing or gives you a suggestion when especially when you're kind of riding high, and you're feeling good about that accomplishment. So, and it's an easy trap to fall into when you hear someone doing something that you maybe feel like doesn't work for you or isn't the right way to go about it. We call that the righting reflex, wanting to fix the direction that the client is going in. Um, what do you think about that? What is maybe a better approach to that than correcting where the client is going? What would have felt better for you as the client?
Well, I think if you would have asked me how that felt, at that point, at that time frame, right, where I had plugged it in here and here, like how was it feeling? How was it any other, kind of unintended benefits or unintended cons, maybe even just a little more exploring, I think would have felt better there. Because you're right that writing reflex can show up, and sometimes it shows up because the coach really does have expertise in that area, right? They do have the knowledge that maybe this is a better path than what the client is choosing.
Right. And that knowledge can really get in the way of true self-efficacy, right? We don't want our clients to be dependent on our expert opinion or our approval for the behaviors that they're engaged in. Um, so I think it's a good example of something that we just kind of naturally do in our life, right? We have opinions on things, and maybe we see someone veering away from what we see as helpful to them, and the real engagement can break down when we try to steer them back to where we want them to be instead. Maybe exploring that a little further and getting into talking about how that felt. Like, how did it feel to have a win, to string that together? And what's maybe missing from the puzzle? What's the obstacle or the thing that you found that isn't quite right yet?
Yeah, and I think the other thing is, maybe there is really good reason. Maybe this is an area that you have some knowledge in, but not right off the get-go.
Yeah.
You know, introducing that to the client, maybe after some more exploration, say, I've got some information about really timing exercises. That's something that you'd like to hear about, leaving the ball back in their court, and then they can do what they want with that knowledge piece if you are an expert in that area.
Right. Yeah, and giving them the ability to use their own discernment to determine what's good for them. And that interaction I just had with you, it's all of the expertise is with the coach in that scenario, where I'm telling you what to do, I'm telling you what you did wrong, and I'm kind of taking the wind out of your sails, and you have everything within you that you need to figure this thing out and to figure out the path you want to take. So I think it comes down to really trusting the client, trusting them to forge their own path and not feeling like I have to be the expert or the person that needs to figure it out for them. They can figure it out on their own.
Yeah, because really, with that exploration, you as a coach had no idea what I meant by after lunch or after
Mhm.
dinner, right? That could have been an hour later, right? And then maybe the fight or flight is not an issue at that point. But yeah, to really skip that exploration piece is, kind of really that's what stopped the conversation, right?
Right. And probably the next time I call you, are you going to want to pick up the call? I've broken down trust with you in a way that you're going to feel like whatever you've done isn't good enough, and that um, you're going to be a little bit nervous about me, maybe calling you out for not doing what you were supposed to do, which isn't, obviously isn't a good dynamic.
Yeah, and I may even come at it from a defensive posture from the beginning of the next call, right? Or it might take me several calls to work back out of that defensiveness, wondering if you're going to, like, tell me what I'm doing is wrong.
Right. Right. Um, so any final thoughts on this before we kind of wrap up what we're talking about here?
I guess one thing that comes to my mind almost always when there's any kind of resistance, is that MI skill of engagement, right? Stepping back. And maybe that looks like on the fly, like apologizing, or whatever, but just kind of stepping back and working hard on engaging with the client again. That's kind of what's kind of living in my head right now for kind of a final thought.
That is a great thought. We all goof up. We all have moments where, maybe it wasn't as egregious as this example where I really stepped on your toes, but we all have those moments where maybe we jumped the gun, or we try to evoke some change talk before the client was ready to move there. And so I think you're really right. Just stepping back, feeling like we can always backpedal,
Mhm.
rather than trying to, you know, just push through and continue with where we're at, and maybe hold our ground. It's good to give up some ground in that case, and maybe even apologize, and
Mhm.
feel like we can back up and not, um, and just kind of make it right with the client, and from there have the engagement restored and work up from there. And when I think of coaching, it's this constant slow momentum that we're trying to build with trust, with rapport, with behavior change. It all takes time and happens slowly. So anything we can do, sometimes you have to, if you're building the foundation and you realize the foundation's crooked, there's something off. Sometimes the best thing to do is just take the wrecking ball to that, and start from scratch again, redo the foundation, which is engagement and trust and rapport and all that good stuff. And without that, you're not going to have a real coaching call. So I'd encourage people to, feel free to back up and just kind of rebuild that. And then from there, you can move forward.
Absolutely.
So if you like this video, please like and subscribe. And we'd love to hear your comments below about what you thought of our little exercise today on conflict within a coaching call. So
Feel free to let us know in the comments if this is a coaching situation that you've had before, or if there's some type of coaching situation that you'd like to see us cover in a future video.
thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you next time.